Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mad Lemon podcasts. And this evening, I have the pleasure to have Daniele Angelozzi with me. And I think you can unmute yourself, Daniele.
Perfect. Here I am.
Okay,
Hi,
good.
Carmine.
Hello,
Hello.
hello. And I will, as usual, let introduce yourself because I do this way with all of my guests. So please, you're welcome. Who exactly are you?
Okay, perfect. Oh, this is a very tough question. Okay, so I am Daniele Angelozzi, and a lot of people call me Danko.
Yeah.
This is my official nickname. Also, my mother calls me Danko. So, a lot of people really. And basically, I work as a character artist. But in the last years, probably I am more a sculptor than
Mhm.
a character artist because I do work a lot for projects related to 3D printing stuff and collectibles.
Yeah.
So my main field of application has moved from being a pure character artist. I also
Yes.
do some character art from that to sculpting stuff. So
Yeah.
I always sculpt characters, but with the scope of create real objects via 3D print for collectibles, miniatures, and so on.
Yeah. I put character artist for a better recognition
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
because I didn't know. Okay, should I use modeler, 3D
No,
artist, whatever?
no, but basically, I am into characters, so character artist fits quite well. But usually, character artist relates more to people that works on, I mean, project related to
Yeah,
video games
yeah.
or animation. Whereas if you are just basically almost into sculpting, 100%
Hmm.
into sculpting, people like to call you digital sculptor or whatsoever. But I feel that they are basically the same. So.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, today I have a lot of interesting question. I mean, I always try to do interesting question to my guests, but this time I want to make you a little bit more specific question than I did in the past because I
Okay.
think you are also one of the first person in the lives that it's not working only in studio. So I have a lot of
Okay.
specific question about freelancing and stuff. But
Okay.
just to go in the usual order, the first question is always is basically about your background. Can
Okay.
you please tell us how did you discover yourself a modeler? How this kind of interest is born in you and the way you embrace it, basically.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I have a very strange story because I really want to make this quick
Hmm.
because basically I have not any artistic background, so I studied a totally different thing,
Yeah.
and I have a PhD in biotechnology. And a lot of people call me Dr. Danko because I am really a doctor. Yeah, and when I was in the last year of my PhD, I discovered really in a random way the possibility to create 3D stuff and sculpt stuff using the computer.
Yeah.
And I totally fell in love with that. Of course, during all my life, I had a lot of interest in creative stuff. So I always was interested in playing music, drawing, playing with the clay. And so when I was 30, I basically realized that that particular thing was what I really wanted to do for my life.
Yeah.
So I just started to study on a self-taught path
Hmm.
and try to recover time. And the story is that.
Cool. So basically, it's kind of what happened to me. I
Yeah.
also have this kind of background where I was first. I always been in love with drawing, and I was in love with video games first. I remember I was playing Street Fighter 2 in the
Oh
mid
wow.
90s,
Yeah.
and at the time there was not the possibility to have action figures or something like that. So
Yes.
drawing Vega, for example, was the only possibility for me as a 9 years old guy to keep with me at home the characters
Yeah.
on paper. And I basically make the paper figure making.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I also did it. Yeah.
And I remember that I kind of choose to draw only for pleasure when I was young. I mean, I didn't never had the obsession to make this work, and I was drawing in my spare time or maybe during the class, especially math.
Yeah.
It was my way to stay focused. It
Yeah.
was sometimes teachers that doesn't understand that if you draw when you're listening something, your attention can be amplified.
Yep. But well, actually, I also was used to draw a lot when I was during my lessons. When I was, while I was listening to the lesson, but for me it worked in the opposite way. So it was just a way not to hear the teacher because I found the lesson very boring. So I remember that my desk was filled of drawings. Because basically I think that I am a bit older than you, so I had the same problem back in my youth. I really didn't have the chance to make stuff on a computer or make collectibles. So
Yeah,
drawing was the easiest and simplest way to express yourself
yeah,
in a creative way.
yeah.
So drawing stuff. Then clay also was a bit difficult because your mother always doesn't want didn't want to my mother didn't want me to play with clay because I would fill my house with clay stamps and all dirty.
Yeah,
So drawing was very really the easy way, and probably I think that all of us, all the people of our age, I'm in my 40, 45 years old, but you
yeah,
are, I think you are 10 years younger, but
yeah,
I think we are in a similar situation. Our generation were very similar, so for us, drawing was our very first way to express ourselves in a creative
yeah.
way.
And I have to admit that without any social media, drawing was a little bit more funny.
Yeah, yeah,
With
I,
no pressure
I
to
can hear this.
impress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now you can find 12 years old people, really talented and young artists that
yeah,
they call themselves artists even before they know how to maybe, I don't know, drive a car or
yeah,
whatever you
yeah,
can do in your young age. So, and in a certain way, I also believe that sometimes, because it's not for everything and for everyone, sometimes it just take away the pleasure of
yeah,
learning if you are
yeah,
constantly in pressure, constantly
yeah.
looking, for example, ArtStation every day. If you
But
look
for example,
ArtStation in your 20, in your 30,
yeah,
it's something. But if you start in looking ArtStation when you are 12 or 13, it's like, come on, enjoy
yeah,
life.
yeah. But first you said very true thing. You said that you didn't have any concern when you was drawing about you really wanted to make that for fun, and probably yeah, this is the point that nowadays there is some sort of a pressure. If you really are into social too much, you can fall in the trap of starting to do stuff not just for the pleasure, but also for the pleasure, but also with the scope and the aim to gain visibility
Yeah,
and being recognized, and probably as you say, this draws away a bit of the fun
yeah,
because when you draw for yourself inside of your room and you know that no one will ever see your work, probably you feel more relaxed and you are really into what you really want to love to do. So
yeah, yeah.
without any concern about how many likes I will get, if I will be top row picked or whatsoever. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I feel that this is a trap that nowadays, in which nowadays a lot of people tend to fall, but all of us, because
Yeah,
none of us are really immune to this system. Because I have ArtStation, and of course, when I publish stuff on ArtStation, If I see that I don't receive some too many likes, of course I start to question myself why
Exactly.
probably
Yeah.
work is not so good, or and and so probably we also have to fight with this tendency of finding outside the recognition of the quality of our work. That
Yeah.
is somewhat important, but it does not to be the primary thing. If you really want to make art, because fine art is something that you really want to express by yourself and for yourself.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, on the other hand, sometimes this kind of possibility to know the world surrounding you, I mean, even in young age, it gives
Yeah,
you the perspective
yeah,
of how big the industry in general, the art can be,
yeah.
and also gives you a
Yep.
lot of inspiration, a lot of different artists to admire and to take, as I said,
Sure.
inspiration. But it's something that I think uh, it should be guided by someone to tells you, look, if you don't receive 1,000 like, it's not your fault.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that it's part of the of us as human being always try
Yeah.
to outside the recognition of how much we are good, how much we are beautiful, how much we are smart.
Yeah.
It's part of us. It's part of the real social life, and also of the internet social life. So I think that it's quite difficult. But I also feel that probably nowadays the young generation are more used because
Mm-hmm.
they somewhat grew up with social media. So for them is less of a pain. Uh, I can only suppose this because I'm not so young, but I think that probably this has more impact on us that really grew up without this kind of mentality, and now we are thrown inside of this huge media world in which we can be connected, and we feel more the pressure.
Yeah, no, I think it's really something that it will be less and less. It will disappear with the time
Yeah,
when people are get
yeah,
used to the social media and to balance their life and their virtual ones. Yeah, I totally
yeah.
agree. Um, yeah, perfect. I think we can move on with the second question, and
Sure.
it's about your work and precisely what do you do in your routine? What do you do, as we said before, as a character artist? But if you also want
Okay.
to explain more from a modeler 360-degree point of view, it's fine. So choose your way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I spend, let's say, 80% of my time cursing my clients and punching the doors in the house. But for the rest of the remaining 20%, I basically work. Yeah, yeah. I really waste a lot of time really cursing the clients and punching doors. But it's good also for your health. I mean, I spend most of my working time creating characters.
Okay.
Yes, and sculpting stuff that is meant to be produced as a real object. So, in particular, I'm really a lot into sculpting collectibles status.
Yes.
So, let's say medium scale and big scale status, one sixth, one fifth, I have some collaboration. Even if I work as a freelancer, I have some fixed collaboration with some companies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I remember the English term for company, and I also work. I mean, being a freelancer, I always jump into different projects, so I can sculpt stuff for miniatures, for board games. Right now, I'm doing some stuff for a Kickstarter,
Mm-hmm.
and I also work for a huge millings, so for marble millers
Mm-hmm.
or people that make fusion with bronze casting, etc. So let's say that I really can cover all the sides because thanks to the computer nowadays you are not limited in
Yeah.
creating a particular
Exactly.
stuff for a particular size. So basically, I sculpt everything is needed for my clients, or at least everything is needed and I like because. no, this is not to say that I always tend to accept all the jobs, but unless a particular job is really, I really can understand that it's not on my chords, or
Yeah.
I cannot do it in a very good way. Because in the end, as a freelancer, you always want to have your clients happy.
Yes.
So as a main rule, I always tend not to do something if I realize that for time constraints or for my capabilities, I will not be able to make my client happy. Because I feel that people prefer someone that honestly says, okay, no, I don't think that I'm able to do this for this particular deadline, or this is not a subject that I really feel I can achieve a good result. Instead of say, okay, let's try, and then you make a total mess, so your client end up being not satisfied. He will not pay you, of course, and so everyone will be totally pissed
So
off. and,
probably
and
we can insert this one in the next questions about
yeah,
the advice to young people. So I think this one is a strong advice because
yeah,
maybe young artists tend to accept everything, even if, for example,
yep,
uh, they like to do cartoons and but they accept a realistic
yep,
type of product, and then after 2 weeks they go crazy because oh my god, what I did,
yeah,
I will not finish. I
yeah.
will. So, yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the third question is the advice for young people.
The third
Uh,
one is
yeah.
not.
Okay. Okay. So
No, no, no. It's not yet the time of doing
okay. Okay.
giving good advice. It's the
Okay.
time for a question a bit more specific again,
Yep.
because in the group of professionist people I know from different fields, from 2D, 3D, animation, and basically
Okay.
everything of video games, animation, and comics.
Yep.
And I know you mostly as a freelance artist.
Okay. Yeah.
And my question is also, I want to make this question because I know a lot of people that want to start or that they already are freelancing. So
Okay.
my question is, it's your this choice, it was for any particular reason, it's for the lifestyle, or again there is something that pushed you, or not even not pushed you, but that brings you to became a freelancer more than a studio guy.
Okay, so well, let's say that I started working in this field as a freelancer because when you have not a lot of experience, at least back times, because I started working, I think something like 15 years ago. Oh, wow, I'm really old. Okay, so 15 years ago, it was quite difficult if you didn't have any experience to apply for some position and be selected for some position in studios. And also, there were less possibilities, both in terms of real possibility and reach of possibilities, because I think that social media, Facebook, the big boom was about during 2008, 2009. So
Yeah.
15 years ago, uh, it was really hard. You had to go to the forums and search online for some job position openings and stuff like that. And there were very few. Nowadays, you can go to our station. There is a job section. You can have a plethora of stuff of job position openings.
Yeah.
You can go in Facebook group, dedicated Facebook groups, and there are people that are posting job offerings. So let's say that you have a major reach of those positions. Back in the days, the only way you could really start to work was trying to make some freelancing.
Yeah.
Also, making freelancing was difficult because there was the same problem. You really didn't have this huge reach. But basically, I started like that. And I always had in mind the idea of trying to get into a studio. I mean, become better in doing what I did, because 15 years ago I really sucked. I still suck, but I sucked more 15 years ago, probably because I'm not sure.
Everyone
Sometimes I look
suck
at
the beginning.
no. Sometimes I look at all the work and say, "Oh my gosh, I was better 10 years ago than now." But I feel that we are all in the same feeling. We share
Yeah,
the same feeling.
you know, sometimes it's like you have, especially when you start in reach
Yeah,
8, 9 years of experience, because
yeah,
I can be younger than you, but I'm starting to collect years of
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
And when I look back, even on my own things that I liked 10 years ago, it's like a skeleton in the closet. It's like, oh my God, I don't
yeah.
want nobody in the world ever see this. You are not my son.
Yeah, burn it with the fire.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, but basically, yeah. So I started as a freelancer. Then
Mhm.
things start to move because in life, work is like in every aspect of life. You
Yeah.
start slow and then you go fast. So you always go faster and faster if you really are focused and work well. But
Mhm.
then back in the days, 9 years ago, I met my future wife, and 7 years ago we get married.
Mhm.
So from that time on, being a freelancer was somewhat of a forced, not in a way that I was forced, but I really
Yeah.
wanted to live here with my wife
Yeah.
because my wife works here, has a good work here,
Mhm.
and I would never ask her to follow me in another country where maybe she cannot work, or she have to find somewhat substitute work.
Mhm.
And so I mean, I have a good client portfolio. In the meantime, I
Yeah.
work to build a good client portfolio, and so I decided to keep doing freelancing.
Okay.
With of course the resolve, so the always the clausule. I know my wife knows that if for some reason someday I feel like I'm gonna burn out because of the freelancing, yeah, I could consider maybe making some short period in some studios
Mhm.
because I don't know if we will cover in another question later, but to me, the studio work lifestyle, is 1,000 times better than being a freelancer for
Mhm.
many reasons. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I
like
think this is kind of the question where you are free to speak out about this argument. Let me see if I have something. Uh, no, no, no. I think this one is the one
yeah,
that if you
okay.
want to continue and explain
Yeah.
the.
No, basically, doing freelancing is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying that is not good because usually, if you really start to work well as a freelancer, you can reach very high rates.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always a standard because you always have to fight and to find deals with clients because there is not there is this legend that the freelancer will always earn the same amount of money. But if you really can play well and can make your job well,
Mm-hmm.
I think that on an average way you can really gain more than a studio job,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So you can organize your time,
Mm-hmm.
and you also have the freedom to choose your project, because if you are a very well known freelancer, or you are well appreciated freelancer, because
Yes.
being known is a different thing from being appreciated by clients.
Yeah.
Sometimes you also are in the position of being able to choose your works, because you have a limited amount of time. If you have to choose among different jobs, you will select the one that probably you like to do most and pays you better. So under this point of view, it's cool because you are never forced to make maybe routine work, or sometimes you can decide, okay, now I want to take this gig because it's a totally different thing, and I really enjoy the idea of trying to make something that I don't do on a regular basis. But in terms of lifestyle, being a freelancer, at least if you work at home like me, because most of the freelancers work at home,
Yeah.
you live alone. So you always have this sort of limitation in which you lack the social interaction with
Mm-hmm.
people, and most important, with people that makes your same job. And this is
Mm.
very important because by interacting with people that share your same passion, you always keep the passion and the fire of the passion
Yeah.
lit. Being alone, sometimes you have downtimes and you don't have people to share these downtimes,
Yes.
down moments. I mean, I can speak with my wife, with my relatives, and with my friends, but sharing with someone that have your same problem and they share the same problem because you are in the same studio. So if I can I say shit, I will say if some shit runs
Definitely.
over you, so all the people of the team will have the same shit and you will share the same shit. So sharing is caring, but sharing is always sharing the pain sometimes allows to recover better from the pain. So and I
Yes.
really lack and I really miss this particular side of the studio work because I made some sort of, let's say, pseudo studio work just for a very short time. Once I went 6 months in Milan, but before doing 3D, I also made different jobs. I was a web designer before doing 3D more than 15 years ago, and I know that I was working in a studio, and I know how the studio dynamics work. So the fact that you really share the pain with people, and you can speak during while doing work, you
Yes.
can ask for suggestion, for inspiration, and stuff like that. So under this point of view, yeah, I feel that the studio lifestyle is way better and allows people maybe to keep the passion more. Being a freelancer sometimes is more difficult to keep staying focused and keep staying passionate about what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can relate with this because I had to do this choice one time. I had not this clearly choice to do. I mean, there was no one with a gun and to tell me what you choose. But there was this kind of period in my life when I was leaving a studio reality and being in the world again. And I
Yeah,
had to have a second thought on myself and say, okay, what I do next? And
yeah,
I was kind of involved in a comic project because I studied comic in the academy. It was my starting point,
yep,
but for the reason you basically talked through until now, I always preferred the studio life
yeah,
because my nature it's not like the lone wolf one, so I don't like to be in this particular field of my life. I mean, in the creativity field of my life, I don't want to be alone.
yep,
For many reasons, for many other reasons, I like to take my time. I like to stay with my thoughts
yep,
and or to be a bit more relaxed and in peace. But for the
yep,
creativity one, I really enjoy the possibility to share
yeah,
the what I'm doing, my mistakes, my
yep,
progress, everything. And there
yeah,
is a question in the chat which can bring us to the next one. So I will take this one and extend it with the other question.
yep.
So if you could tell one thing to yourself, you're the beginner, the freelancer in the beginning, basically, what would it be? And my question related to this one is what advice would you tell not only to yourself but to the people that are
Okay.
starting right now?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. To myself, I just will tell to myself to do what it feels because
Mm-hmm.
I mean I'm quite happy with how the things turned out
Yeah,
in my life, and I really have no regrets.
cool.
And I feel that also sometimes people ask me, not only from the beginning, they say, okay, but you study biotechnology. Are you don't you feel like you wasted some time, and
Yeah,
it could be better if you studied fine arts? No, because I am the sum of my experience. So if
exactly.
probably I took another road somewhere back in time in the past, probably I would not be here. So yeah. I know. I don't know. We say in English. Maybe you can translate, but in Italy we
Hmm.
say "il senno del poi." With
Okay. Whoa,
yeah,
that's a tough one.
yeah.
And I think that it can be explained like
I'm making the back math, maybe.
yes, at this
Yeah, yeah,
stage, of my
yeah,
life, I can
yeah.
sum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But making back the back math always lets you to say, okay, yeah, probably I could make this, make
Yeah.
that, I could avoid this error, but you are also the sum of your errors. So to the young myself, I will not say anything. Maybe I would say make more workout and try to go with more chicks. Yeah, but from a professional point of view, nothing. To the young people, I would say there are a lot of advices that can be given,
Yes.
and probably most of them are just unuseful because I feel that everyone has to go down to their path, and
Hmm.
their path need to be also made of mistakes. But a very good thing that I would suggest to people is try not to feel too much the pressure, and try not to go from zero to hero, and not to have the goal of going from zero to hero in too much too short time, because as I was mentioning before,
Yeah.
everything is in life and also in creativity, and when you work, is made in a progression. So you cannot, if today you are here, tomorrow probably you will not be here, and you always have to aim and to make small steps. So keep the passion and try to keep the pace, without becoming over obsessed of having to do stuff, having to become better. Because if you just make things with focus, and with the fun, with trying to always to have this sort of it's difficult to have fun, but try to have fun, but fun in a very intimate way. Not like, oh, okay, yeah, I like to do models, because studying anatomy is a pain.
Yeah.
Trying to make good looking stuff is always a pain, but there is some sort of really inner and some sort of spiritual fun, because you feel that you are doing something creative and you are making some progression. This is the type
Yes.
of fun that I'm relating to. So if you try to keep this sort of being angry about becoming better, but
Hmm.
without being obsessive, then I think that all the people that I know that took this road and had this attitude landed a job. So probably some of them work in a small studio, someone landed in bigger ones. But if you have the right attitude, and you really are not overthinking about, yeah, tomorrow I want to go and work with Blizzard, because I see a lot of young people that tend to give up when they face one, two, or three failures. Uh,
Yes.
but I mean, as soon as you're learning, you will always face a lot of failures, because nowadays it's 15 years that I work, and I still keep facing a lot of failures, because
Hmm.
maybe I'm not so used to posting social media, so I'm pretty reserved person. So I just use social media to post my working stuff. But
Yes.
of course, I never post the type of working issues that I have during my daily routine. So on a daily routine, sometimes I have revisions, works that are not accepted, the works that are not liked by my clients.
Hmm.
So you always have to struggle to make your work better, because the more that your work become important, the more the expectations. So and yeah, I keep facing failures. I had some huge failures in my career, and they keep coming. So
Yeah.
I feel that it's part of the learning process. So just don't be discouraged if the first times you are not so you are underpaid, because in the beginning, you everyone will be always underpaid,
Yes.
and it's normal because what here in Italy, what we call a stage, somewhere else is called internship. There are everywhere there are people that will try to make you work for free, especially when you don't have experience. And also in this, probably I have an advice that could make some people angry because
Do
yeah,
it.
because sometimes I have some sort of somewhat of tough opinions, and I
Hmm.
always tell to my students that when you don't have any experience, I like to always put myself thinking about. And people should always put themselves in the situation of thinking, but would they pay money for my services?
Yeah.
Because this is the main question. And when you are young and you don't have any experience, probably you will never pay yourself to to make some job. And so, what my advice is, of course, not to work underpaid. But if you see that there is a real opportunity in which someone offers you to make some job, not for exposure, but with very low wage, but this gives you the possibility to learn something because it's a serious offer, and it's made clear that you will not be paid because you don't have any experience. Okay, take it. If you don't have any other opportunities, take it,
Yeah.
because you are at the beginning of your career, so you have to make a lot of experience, and of course you always have to evaluate the offer, because there are some people that really will ask you to work for free and you will not learn really anything. But even in my past, I sometimes I made some jobs, and I with rates that were ridiculous,
Hmm.
and I accepted that just because I spotted not the possibility to make other works, but the possibility to learn something.
Yeah.
Because the most, and it paid off, because in the end, if someone approaches you and is clear that he doesn't have any budget, and so on, you really can be very accept or reject in a very certain way without being angry, because you are not evaluated like you are supposed to do. So
Yes.
also try not to overreact. So always try to be professional and calm.
Yeah.
So this is the advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard in our field to don't
Yeah.
overreact because, especially in social media, overreaction is
Yeah. Yeah.
the salt. So I see a lot of screens, especially from young people, that they share. Some of them are legit because maybe, as you say, people go to them and just ask work for free. But some of them in the screen it show you that it was clear. It's like, do you want to
Yeah.
make a collaboration? Do you want to make a sort of um, yeah, a job, not for free, but because maybe I am a young reality in the comic or whatever,
Yeah.
and I don't have this money, but I can pay you on the product. I can pay, and it's something that if you are really, really, really young and you have no experience at all, I did some of this in my past just because I found fun and challenging the project,
Sure.
and it always paid me, if not with good money, with experience and learning, for example, how to do a fantasy character, how to do
Yeah.
something in particular. And plus, my name was circulating in the
Yeah.
area of, I'm collaborating with this guy, it's really good and doing fantasy stuff or whatever. And this landed to other serious opportunity just because maybe friend of me of mine and friend of the other guy talk together, and you never know how your name can pop up
Yeah.
in the other people's mouth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but also another thing, you when you were mentioning about people posting screenshots, this is my point of view, because of course I also received ton of requests of people that want to work for free,
Yeah.
because I think that we are in the same boat. It's not just because I have some works to do that people don't reach.
Yes.
And the people that reach out just thinking that I can sculpt something for €10. But, I think sometimes there is really some sort of ignorance
Yeah.
in the real sense of the term. So people really don't know how much effort you have to spend. But even if someone is trying to cheat on you and make you work for free, to me is being a professional also means that I really don't have to put on social and make public issues that I have with possible clients or people, because
Yeah.
this is a part of being professional, being always serious and giving I mean, um, a view of yourself of being a quiet person. So
Hmm.
even if someone, I mean, there is no real point on overreacting if someone asks you to work for free. You just say no. I'm
Yeah.
not interested. If he keeps going, you can block him. So because in the end, I feel that all these bad feelings really don't pay off, because they will really hit on you, on yourself, because you start to feel angry. So it's I'm not really into this sort of new age stuff or being always calm, because I'm not very I'm quite hot tempered. But when I relate to people, I always try not to overreact, and always try to think that someone want to steal my time, want to steal my work. If I'm not interested, I can say, okay, guy, listen, I
Yeah.
just I'm not really interested in doing this stuff. Thanks for contacting me, and wish you all best of luck. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
no. Also because sometimes it's, I mean, I believe that for someone, and I will say this because I don't care about the channel to be like a job for me. So if
Uh-huh.
someone will strike me, it doesn't matter. But I think that some people is doing this kind of behavior also because, okay, I don't earn money about this situation. I will earn compassion and
Yeah,
popularity from
yeah,
this post. So every
yeah,
all of my friends will come to me and say, "Oh, you are right. Oh,
yeah, yeah,
the reality sucks. Oh, these clients are stupid."
yeah.
So at least you spend a nice day on social.
Yeah, it's also a way to channel your frustration, because probably you are frustrated because you cannot get the job that you want, and
Yeah.
so you find some sort this sort of valve to focus on your frustration. But I mean, I repeat, I'm quite a temperate guy, but
Yes.
I realized I have some sort of a living experience that bad feelings always it's back on you. So
Hmm.
uh, always try not to being overwhelmed by your frustration. If you are frustrated, let's give a punch on the door, and relieve it. I mean, writing on social media just make the things grow and grow bigger, because also the compassion
Yeah.
is sort of mechanism that feeds your frustration, really
Yes.
doesn't relieve it. So it will become just bigger and bigger and bigger. And to me, at least, again, I really would not like to offend anyone that probably that is listening that maybe has this behavior, but it will also make you look like an asshole. Yeah, not like, no, sorry, I used the wrong term, but just like a frustrated person. So,
Okay.
it's just like, oh my gosh, this guy. So this is, I feel that none of us. This is not the type of compassion that none of us wants. So
Hmm.
you really don't want to be seen as the poor frustrated guy that needs a tap on the back just because he's so frustrated that I mean, um, sometimes we put ourselves in social,
Hmm.
not understanding really how people are perceiving us. And
Yes.
this is a huge fail in the social in the social interaction, because sometimes we feel like we are smart and it happened to me
Hmm.
many years ago. I was used to write more on social and so on. And so sometimes you feel smart, but you don't realize that maybe people think that you are just someone that is feels like he's an asshole. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
maybe I would
complaining a
say it
lot.
another way, but and I remember that there was this guy back in the, I think 8 9 years ago that really wrote me a comment, and the point was that I was just writing as an asshole, and I really got angry with this person. But
Hmm.
nowadays I thank him because this gave me the chance to think for a second and say, okay, probably yeah. I really don't mean to be an asshole, but the way I write things and the way I put myself on social, if I would look another person acting like me, I would think that it would be an asshole. Yeah. So sometimes we lack this perception of how people perceive us on social.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a huge trap. Yeah.
Then let's say there is a comment in the chat. I think it's from Salvatore.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
recognize the nickname, super scostumato. It's saying basically, earlier in my career, I did a character for free because I had the opportunity to work with Roberto Ricci. Yeah, a very famous comic book artist. They
Mhm.
liked the character, so they hired me again to do more stuff, paid this time.
Yeah.
It's always kind of funny to see people with no folio at all refusing very good opportunity just because it's not what they want to do. Yeah, it basically centering what we were discussing before.
Yeah.
If you don't have any experience at all, if you don't have any portfolio, if it's maybe the first year of your academy studies
Yeah.
and someone is trying to collaborate with you, try at least to consider the opportunity to
Yeah.
embrace a project.
But also because trying to embrace a project will also give you the possibility to focus on something, because
Yeah.
a huge trap when you work on your personal project is that probably somewhere in the, at least if I think that for 2D it works the same,
Hmm.
but 3D usually sometimes can take on an average level more time
Yeah.
to create
Yeah.
a 3D character from zero to hero. And so it will always happen that down the production line there will be a moment in which you will lose interest in what you do, and it always happens. And this is a huge trap that you have to learn how to go through. So
Yeah. Of
seeing yourself.
of course,
Yeah.
you need to know what are you getting through. For example,
Yeah.
no one is telling here to embrace, for example, a project of 3 years making
Yeah.
100
Yeah.
150 characters or
No,
10
absolutely.
environments, but
No.
sometimes it's really maybe a cover for a book or a sketch or uh, um, an entire figure colored, a poster, whatever. Maybe it can require you a week of work at least,
Yep.
and but it gives you the opportunity to show in your first CV, in your first portfolio, look, I did this collaboration. So yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes a bit more. I mean, I know that it's not the right example, but in music, if you don't find a band and trying to make music in a garage with
Yeah.
unknown people, you don't ever reach the point to form a band.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's even the
Yeah.
courage
But
to.
throughout all the history and the history of art, there was the class. Let's talk in an RPG way of the apprentice.
Yes.
The apprentice was a guy that went inside of an art shop and just learned the job
Mm-hmm.
without being paid, because Bernini didn't start doing the rape of Proserpina. Bernini went inside the shop. I don't know if he worked with for his father. I really suck in art history, but he started as an apprentice,
Yeah.
and so he learned how to make stuff. And nowadays there is also this misconception that oh yeah, okay, I made an art school, so I finished the art school, now I'm ready to work. And I'm really sad to say this, but no, it doesn't work this way, because
Yeah.
you end up you make your, when you end up with the school, you are in the situation of knowing overall how things work, but you really didn't. You have to make your hands dirty to learn how to create stuff. So
Yeah.
uh, and sometimes when people, uh, me or someone else, say these things, looks like and can give the impression of, okay, yeah, this is the guy that works, so it's easy for him to tell this kind of stuff because he didn't went through. But believe me, we all went through this,
Yeah.
because during my first years I worked a lot for free and I made a lot of projects. There was somewhere after 5 years that I started working as a freelancer. I want to say this anecdote
Yeah. Do it.
because it's cool, because there was a period in which I didn't have any gigs,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't still have the flow of works that was continuous and was regular. And so there was a period that I was very down and I felt very depressed, because we all feel the same when we don't have the perspective of
Yes.
a job landing. And I remember that I was contacted by a guy from Nigeria, I feel, I don't remember very well, and he asked me to create some characters. Let me say I was almost sure that I was not gonna be paid, because I was almost sure, but this gave me the possibility to keep me busy
Mm-hmm.
without falling into depression, because I know that if I am depressed, I will not even do my personal job. So I told to myself, okay, I'm taking this with the responsibility of knowing that probably I will not get paid.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to become smart, because if you feel that something is in danger, I will never give the files.
Yeah.
So
Of
I
course.
just take this as some sort of personal work, but under the supervision of someone. So this allows me to keep the focus on the thing. Because if I just do some personal work, I say, okay, today I'm depressed because I don't have any jobs, so I will switch off the computer and go around and make some walk around, etc. Instead of thinking that I am doing a job, or
Yes.
hoping that I'm doing a job, hoping that it will be paid, will allow me to keep doing stuff and keep focused and not thinking about the fact that I am I have not any other works, and it paid. It paid in the sense that I was not paid by that
Mm-hmm.
guy because I knew that, and I spent 1 month
Mm-hmm.
doing job for him. But then I posted some stuff that I did during this job, etc., and it landed me the other jobs. So this kind of periods, especially when you are in the start of your career, always happens to everyone. So
Yes.
get used to this, because it's like a ball that is rolling on inclinato, please help me, on angled table, so
Yeah.
it can only go faster and faster, but in the beginning it will go slow. So in the first year you always go slow, and
Yeah.
sometimes you will not have the inertia, and it will start to stop a bit, so you have to give another little push. But
Yes.
the more you work, if you work with focus, it will become faster, 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 and faster. So
Yeah.
uh, just have faith in this, and be confident, that trust the fact that if you work hard, it will pay off, because
Yes. That's
it,
something that happens 360 degrees with job.
yeah,
Unless you are making a job with no particular skill required that you can
yeah,
do straight after your high school, every
yeah,
kind of job, especially the creativity ones, can require some sacrifice. And
yeah,
it doesn't mean that you have to accept everything, but at least sometimes it's better to make something as an experience more than a
yeah,
paid job in your
yeah,
beginning. And as you said, you really don't know. I will tell you a fun story about myself,
yep,
which sometimes I talked about in different videos, but I will repeat myself here. So, when I was in Rome 10 years
yep,
ago, I was studying academy, the comic school,
yep,
and I was doing in order to pay, because I'm not from Rome, in order to pay the rent and the academy, I was doing like the call center,
okay, wow,
and and I had to go on the other part of Rome to make the call center, back to the other part for doing the academy, and in the middle for my home basically. And when I was doing the call center, I always had the sketchbook to finish my school job, the academy job. And sometimes I even bring to me like the A4 kind of paper sheet. So they were basically occupying all of my desk. Was quite visible.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a friend of mine there, which was always looking at me drawing, and it was fascinated and blah blah blah. After 2 or 3 months, I quit the job. I received a call by the brother of this friend of mine,
Yeah.
which was founding basically a startup, a video game startup,
Okay,
and
cool.
I get basically hired from nowhere. So just
Yeah, but
because I was there drawing, a guy noticed me and tell the brother, "Look, I know a guy who is quite good in doing draws." So you
yeah,
never know where.
you never know what can happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
So just try to do stuff.
yeah. So I
I
can
think,
say that call center brings me the first
yeah.
opportunity of my career, because from there I just started working in different experiences. So
Yeah, I really had some quite different experience because while I was studying 3D
mhm.
to pay my bills and sustain myself, I was working as a waiter on a bar.
Yeah, awesome.
This didn't land me a job, but I knew a lot of chicks, girls. Yeah, and it was quite fun. So yeah, back in the days. So oh, nice memories. No, just kidding, just kidding. So no, no, it was very fun to work as a waiter. But yeah, just try
I will
to.
not tell anything if I see the shadow of your wife behind you. I will
Oh
say
no,
like
no, but
this.
my wife knows. It was back in the days when she didn't exist in my life, so everything was allowed. Yeah, I hope.
Okay, let's move on with the questions.
Yeah,
Um, this one is basically made on you because it's quite specific,
yeah.
and is I'm strongly interested in knowing more about your approach to the likeness type
Okay.
of work you do, because one of the main difference I see a lot of likeness
Yeah.
3D models,
Mhm.
but the thing that is amazing me with your works is that you
Oh.
basically blend really really well
Oh.
the realistic appearance of the characters. For example, I don't know in English Stanley only, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah. It's San Lauren and Oliver Aki.
okay, or Bud Spencer, or
Yeah.
the many you do, and there is always this kind of perfect balance between being
Oh.
a likeness.
Okay.
You cannot misunderstand them. It's clear like the sun that it's that person, but also it works really well as a 3D model, because
Okay.
sometimes what I see, for example, with the scans or with other artists that are doing likeness, is that they are a bit stiff in the character.
Oh.
They
Yeah.
maybe are totally 100% looks like the person, but they are just a sort of
Okay. Yeah.
cold representation.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
a really long question for.
Yeah. Before replying the question, I want just to open a parenthesis. When I'm saying chicks, referring to girls, I'm not sure if in English is some sort of offensive term. It has
Probably.
because of no, because we live in an era in which people can get offended, and so I really would not like to sound like the asshole that calls people in that way. Just my some sort of language limitation, because probably in Italian the corresponding word is somewhat of a funny and friendly word. So uh,
Okay.
just to say this, because I really don't want to feel like the macho man that feels
Okay.
like,
We will
yeah.
replace chicks with
Okay, yeah,
beautiful girl.
make some beeps during the recording. Okay, it's not. I really wanted to underline this because I realized that sometimes yesterday when I was sharing the the live, I really want to refer as to you as filibustiere, because if you say filibustiere in Italian is funny, but if you say scoundrel in English, it could be offensive. So I thought for a second and said, okay, probably in English it will not work quite well and will really sound like I'm offending Carmine. So I
Yeah.
totally avoid this. Because sometimes in Italy you say, we
Yeah,
use some
yeah.
terms in a very friendly and funny way. Okay, so for your question, well, first of all, I want to say that personally, I don't feel like I'm this good in doing portraits. Of course, I have somewhat of a bit of experience, and so I thank you if you really like them.
Yeah, yeah.
I am well. My approach, I have a very scientific approach to portraits
Okay.
because probably is also because of my scientific background. I feel like the guy that is making art, but with an approach, with a state of mind that is not really artistic. So
Mm-hmm.
when I approach likeness, I really not try to, but it's a problem of mine. I've become over obsessive in being accurate. So
Okay.
um, first of all, I always want to be sure that the face anatomy is on point,
Yes.
and this, when you're doing likeness stuff, is always a process of going back and forth, trying to catch the likeness and the feeling of the character.
Yeah.
So every one of us is different, so we share the same facial structure, but we have nuances that are different.
Yes.
So I start and do a very rough block out, and I start seeing the character. Then I become over obsessive with anatomy and I lose it. Then I recatch it, and probably nowadays I rely a lot on overlapping of images. So
All right.
I select some good images, and I do a lot of overlapping. Of course, I'm I mean, you have if you really are aiming to have consistent result, you have to create a workflow that is works always the same.
All
So
right. Yeah.
the only way to do this is to grab references images, catch the right reference images, because this is a tricky point, because every image can be taken with a different
Yes,
focal
exactly.
point. You have to understand a lot of stuff. So from this point of view, it can become also boring and very frustrating. And just try to fill the gaps join the points by your knowledge and your observation.
On this
Because,
point,
yeah,
um, a good question can be,
yeah,
um, I think could be more easy if you do a likeness of someone living in the present because you can find a lot of high
yeah,
quality pictures.
yeah. It
But you
depends on the
you did likeness of people dead
yeah.
time ago or when technology was not so good, like Bud Spencer in the young in his young were the 70s, so I don't think the quality of the photos was the
Yeah,
same.
but usually you make a lot of research.
Hmm.
When I'm doing likeness, I spend probably the first week of a likeness job, or when I know that I am gonna be assigned a likeness job, I spend every free moment
Hmm.
in which I don't have anything to do, searching through internet for images.
Okay.
There are a lot of nice sites like Getty Images. Getty Images, usually you can find stock photos of very high quality. So
Okay.
photos from maybe conventions or festivals, or also of normal life photos. So depicting these guys during their normal life.
Okay.
When I was doing Peter Sellers, I
Hmm.
found there an image of him during the summer in a swimsuit, and it was perfect because it was frontal and I had the perfect body proportion of Peter Sellers. So you make a lot of research, and yeah, in this case, when you don't have high quality images, it can become more tricky. And there you have to relate to the knowledge that you have about anatomy, about how the pores work, about how the skin works. But of course, you always try to find good looking images that describe some details.
All right.
Uh, and of course, nowadays it could be easier, but it can become also more difficult, because when you have a high quality image, probably there is also the tendency to overdo stuff. And What I found very very useful, a thing
Mm-hmm.
that I really find super useful when I have to do a likeness. Another thing that the first thing that I search for is that for that actor there is online some picture of a live cast, because actor in the past could not be scanned, but of course you could find some live cast, so they were filled with I don't know if it was silicone or whatsoever,
Yeah.
uh, to make I mean replicas of their face. And so of course you have to take this information with taking into account something, because when you are covered with stuff probably will have all the masses fall more, so you have all this live casting that feels like there is some gravity falling on them, but it can be quite nicely descriptive of the real shapes of the face, because in the old movies there was these lights that were overfilling with white the face.
Yeah. The
uh,
grain, I think, that
yeah,
smudge a lot of
yeah,
details. Yeah.
yeah. But also nowadays, if I have to make, let's say, temporary person, I
Yes.
will go and look online if there are scans, or again left cast. But nowadays, you can also can find scans of the
Ah,
real
cool.
person. Of course, when you're doing likeness, referring to your question,
Mm-hmm.
probably if you look at the person, a scan of a person, it will somewhat look like, yeah, it's him, but something is missing, because of course a face is done also by the texture, the color,
Yes.
and some elements like the eyes. The eyes probably are the most important thing, the placement of the eye, because the eye is the soul, is the door of the soul,
Mm-hmm.
and is the first thing that you tend to look in a face. So if the eye are not correct, everything is not working, nothing is working in a
Yeah.
face. And the common mistake that I made when I was beginning doing likeness, that I really spent a lot of time doing the block out of the face without putting the eyes, just having these empty spaces, because I first searched for the general look and then put the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays I learned that I really want to throw as the first stage the eyes in the portrait, because the stare of a character will help me understand if I'm doing going in the right direction.
Cool.
uh, and of course, about the stiffness, well, I think that there are a lot of amazing artists. Probably the stiffness that you're relating to is that usually when I make portraits for jobs, of course, I am required to put some expression on them, even if the expression are very subtle. Because, for example, for Bud Spencer, I made somewhat of a pissed off expression, but
Mm-hmm.
it was very neutral. The same for Peter Sellers. So they are not so extreme. For Paolo Villaggio, for example, it was more extreme. For Stan Laurel and Lori Berardi, it was a pain, because they were super extreme.
Yeah.
But if you, of course, when you, there are some people that are just making likeness to render stuff and so on, and so they tend to make in a very neutral expression. So if
Mm-hmm.
you don't put expression, you don't put the soul of the character, because a thing that you have to do when you're doing a collectible, you have
Yes.
to make a lot of research also about the character that is played by that particular guy. Because I can share this story, because the
Mm-hmm.
statue came out when I was doing Bud Spencer, and that was playing Bambino in Lo chiamavano Trinità.
Yeah.
Movie. Another thing that I always do when I have to do a likeness, I purchase the movie and watch the movie, and try to purchase all the movies of the period. For the Bud Spencer, I also found all the movie in which he didn't have beard. Probably the only movie in which he didn't have beard, and it was already fat, so it was not the Olympic champion
Mm-hmm.
when he
Yeah,
was
because I
doing.
remember him without the bird only in the
Yeah, yeah,
swim.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
fuck.
But there is a movie in which he has the weight that for which we know him, and he doesn't have the bird, and it was super useful to understand the shape underneath the bird. Even if you end up not seeing this, if you put the bird on the collectible, I really want to try to be scientific. So I want to have under the right structure and then build on top.
Cool.
And I remember that the licensor of the collectible wanted that was the son of Bud Spencer. Of course, he wanted the father to smile. But if you see the movie, Lo chiamavano Trinità, there is not a single scene, maybe just one when they are playing poker, in which the character smiles and laughs. And so it was really not the right expression, because if you really fail the expression, you
Yeah.
really cannot convey the soul of the character.
Hmm.
And this was not uh, the only time that we made this mistake. Sometimes it's also because during the art direction decisions, you can mess up things, you can become maybe anxious or about stuff. And also for the French actor that is called Louis Defune, sorry. The first time that I did the portrait, we totally made a mistake on the expression, because we made him like angry,
Hmm.
whereas all the people remember him as being very smiley. So all the people complained, because they say, oh, it's not him, it's not the real soul of the character, and we had to remake
Yeah,
the
the
expression, and
expression.
paid off. Yeah,
Great. No, I think it's fundamental sometimes to explore in depth the different approach, and I
yeah,
think your scientific one it's quite uh, I will say it can allows you to reach the likeness you want, because sometimes artists tend to put their approach, their creativity, even in something so specific like a likeness. Which,
usually portrait artists are quite pretty scientific. And
mm-hmm,
I have to give for this question, I want also to give a huge shout to a
mm-hmm.
couple of people,
Yeah,
because they
please.
really helped me a lot. One is called Marlon Nunez. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know if I can spell it well. And another, they are two guys with very difficult names. Is Dimitri Lepe, and they are two amazing portrait artists, and they
Yeah.
gave me huge advices, and probably they represent two different approaches, because Dimitri has a very artistic approach, and it
Yes.
makes amazing likeness, while Marlon is more scientific,
Mm-hmm.
and it teached me this thing of making a lot of overlappings. But I feel that in the end, all the methods converge. So if you really rely more on the perception, then in the end you overlap. If you rely first on the overlap, then you will also have to add some sort of perception, because also when you
Yeah.
are making a portrait, you make that process called digital makeup,
Mm-hmm.
especially for collectibles. So the face that you are doing is somewhat idealized. So you tend to not make a caricature of the likeness, but you really try to accentuate some traits with maybe playing with an exaggerated expression, or making some feature slightly, but very slightly bigger, smaller, and whatsoever.
Yeah, and I probably I can guess because I'm not into it, but for example, taking starting to doing a likeness on particularly on the face
Yeah,
and working on static images,
yeah,
it gives you a result when you are doing the front view, but then when you turn the character you can have a totally
yeah,
different looking, so you have
yeah,
to tweak every little aspect
yeah,
when
yeah,
you're rotating the face to be
yeah.
always in focus.
Yeah,
So
yeah, but of course, when I talk about overlapping, doesn't mean that you really rely only on
yeah,
overlapping,
okay, yeah,
because
yeah,
but of course, for the final shot and expression, if you really aim to make some particular shot, you want that to be somewhat 100% overlapping with that. And
yeah.
then of course you have to tweak also the other angles. Another thing that I feel, at least for me, again, like for the jobs, making a likeness is never a process from zero to hero.
Yeah.
To me, it's very important to work a lot on a likeness, because the more I look at the face, the more I am able to catch the nuances of a particular face and what
Mm-hmm.
makes that face particular. Uh, and there are phases that are more difficult than others. I really was able to hit some likeness very, very rarely in few days, but most of the times it takes me 1, 2, or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can imagine.
yeah, yeah. I remember that not the last, but before the last model. No, no, it was on at the beginning of the year, so it was 2 or 3 models ago. I worked on Marlon Brando,
Hmm.
young Marlon Brando, and it was really a pain. And I remember that this was a moment in which I asked my wife to create an archive with all the files, set the password, and don't tell me because I needed to put away the portrait for 3 days, and I knew that if I had the chance to open the file, I would do
Yeah.
it. So I asked her to help me and say, okay, lock for me the file. Please remember the password because if you forget that, I will ask for the divorce. But I really had to because sometimes, yeah, also this thing. A thing that everyone suggests when working on portraits, don't spend too much time on them.
Yeah.
So here and there you have to put this away. Maybe let 2 or 3 days
Hmm.
pass and then take it back because you really don't want to add frustration on the frustration if you feel that and I remember that I had this stage. I always have this stage when I make portraits. Sooner or later, it happens.
Hmm.
But I had this stage in a moment in which it was Marlon Brando. It was clear that it was, but I really was becoming over obsessive and super nitpicky about the nuances,
Yeah.
and so I really needed to stop in order because if you keep doing with this particular state of mind, you will ruin the portrait.
Yeah.
And you will become mad about that.
I can
Yeah,
imagine too. Yeah,
yeah,
no, I think it's a particular type of work that requires particular approach because
yeah,
it's totally
yeah.
different from doing stuff based on a concept or based on fantasy type of characters.
I feel that probably every creative work can put you in the risk of become over obsessive because
Yeah.
I mean it's the downside and the back phase of every creative work. You aim to make always a better job, so in the end you suffer and you tend to really become obsessive about doing it better and better. For a likeness, of course, this is a problem on steroids because I mean, we are very used to recognize faces because it's in our DNA, in our perception. We have the ability to when we see a face to understand on the fly if something is off, even when we make a comparison with likeness, because it's our perception that works in this way. So even if you have something that is moved by 1 millimeter or less, you will notice it in a face. And so probably for the likeness, this is the problem with the likeness is that you have to be super accurate. But of course, if you for every type of job, you really can fall in this trap and approach because since the day I started to do likenesses, I see and I can see that I am becoming obsessive also when I'm creating different type of stuff. So if I
Yeah.
have to create a miniature based on a concept, I really want that to be somewhat not overlapping but super faithful to the concept. And I mean, in the end, it's a thing that will destroy your mind, but it pays off because probably you will become better and better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. I'm laughing because I just noticed after 1 year, 1 hour and 20 minutes that the name under your portrait was the my past guest.
Oh,
So
oh wow.
so for 1 hour and 20 minutes
Oh,
you have been Marvi Manzoni.
okay. Problem.
And this is also telling me that the viewers are not like they are not putting attention in this.
Oh, but then it's no problem. I'm used to this. Also, when I am having sex with my wife, she used to call me with another name. I'm not sure who the guy is, but no, I'm just kidding. But
Okay, I fixed it, but
oh my god,
okay,
my wife will kill me for this. So,
for 1 hour and a half you have been another person. So
okay, it was fun.
hope
Yeah,
you enjoyed.
yeah, a lot.
Okay, let me open the question. Okay. It's also, we reached the half of the question. So if you want
Oh,
to share your screen and sketching around while we are talking, I will put you in
okay.
the center.
I can find. Okay. Let me share the screen. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. So probably I will
Whatever.
just um, make some sort of very sketchy, something very
Yeah,
sketchy, and
go for
just
it.
to show the process of sculpting with digital clay. Just because I didn't prepare anything. So next question.
Yeah, give me a second to put your monitor in the center.
Yeah. As usual, when you are doing some sort of demos, you start with a sphere, and you. I probably will end up sculpting some sort of bad face because I really cannot sculpt from memory, but just to
Okay,
the idea of the process behind.
great.
Before
And
a request,
let's
I don't know.
go with the question. Okay, we already did this one. Okay. The sixth one is quite interesting because I'm trying to analyze with you the future of the technology.
Okay.
And so, video games, movies, and animation, feature films, and TV series are reaching some unbelievable realism in CGI and VFX. And
Hmm?
year after year, technology is reaching some extra detail
Yep.
to add to the cauldron. For example, I remember when technology passed from PS2 to PS3, that the count of polygons were basically doubled. Or for example, the tech demo of the PS4 showed for the first time, I believe, the subsurface scattering and the interaction with lights on the characters. And now we saw PS5 is showing us, for example, the future of the ray tracing, the bouncing lights, the ability to load the models directly, to upload the model directly in the engine, and all of this stuff. So, my question is, what are the next technology steps you believe will appear in the next years? I don't want to make you a count of the years, but just in general.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not really into tech stuff, but I see that probably now there is a lot of interest about VR,
Mm-hmm.
and I really feel that it could be the next big thing,
Okay.
and probably is already the next big thing because I mean I tried once
Yeah.
virtual reality, and when you look at YouTube videos about virtual reality, it doesn't give you the sense of what is being inside of VR, because
Yes.
nowadays you really can feel. I remember that. I tried this demo for a video game in which I also work as an environment artist,
Mm-hmm.
in which there was this hangar that has this bridge, open bridge, so you could see down, and there was some sort of a jump of 300 meters.
Yep.
And when I was in testing in VR, it really gave the impression and the suffer of vertigini in English. I fear of
Vertigo.
heights. I have fear of heights,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was in VR, I really had the same feeling of being really there. I think that if I see in a video game, in a normal video game, really you really don't
Yeah.
have the feeling of the depth of the perception of space of depth.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that probably that could be the next big thing.
Yeah. So a more implemented VR function, a more
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so basically you are telling me we are going to the Matrix in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I hope not, because but yeah, there are something that could lead us to think that, yeah, probably we are moving into the Matrix, or in some sort of a Black Mirror like scenario. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I hope not. But or at least I hope that I will be sold when it happens. So I'm almost 50, so I really don't have enough a lot of time. Uh, so if it happens in 40, 30 years, who cares? So it will not be the problem.
Okay, so let's the children of the future figure it out
Yeah.
how to survive.
Oh, yeah, I always say that I hope not to be witness of such a change if it happens, because it would be terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. I really am scared about needles, so I really don't want in the future to having something on the back of my head to
Yeah.
plugged in the back of my head to go into the matrix. So
Yeah.
if we don't reach that point, I'm good. Whatever
Okay.
we see. The next question is, of course, for a character artist, but I will say a modeler in general, anatomy is a big fundamental, and you have to master it to become a character model. But as I said, in general, anatomy it's always one of the entrance
Yeah.
barrier that you have to
Yeah.
see if you can do this job or not. And what will be your advice, or if you have any exercise that you can explain with your voice, of course, that someone can do in the 3D environments to improve his
Okay.
skills?
Okay, so basically, anatomy is always a very tricky thing to,
Hmm.
and very hard thing to master. And probably the real secret is that you will never master it, really master it, because it's always a continuous struggle.
Yeah.
I'm just stop. Can I show something on my camera for a second? So I will
Yeah,
stop.
you can do whatever you want.
Okay. I don't know if you noticed that here in the back I have a skeleton.
Yes, I
Real life
noticed it
skeleton.
before.
I also have the school here. There is another school here, and there are some anatomy models, and they have. I have not prepared these in advance. I have an anatomy book here.
Okay,
Probably.
tell the truth. Who is that poor guy
Oh
that?
yeah, I live near to a graveyard, so this is just a replica. But I really don't exclude that in the future I will become so crazy and will go grave digging, because it's 200 meters from my home, the cemetery, the town cemetery. So it's an option, of course.
Okay.
No, I would suggest. I followed few days ago a very nice video demo from a very nice guy that is also a friend of mine, that is called Derek Pellegrini,
Hmm.
and he's a Brazilian guy, and made this live streaming for the Zebras Master Series. And he gave no he showed this thing that I feel that it can be really useful.
Hmm.
Let me take okay, so I of course, like many other people, spend a lot of money in trying to improve myself, and I think that when you want to learn anatomy is buying scans, because the only way that you can, no, probably this is the no, this is the right one. Okay, so let's
Whoa.
take. If you want to learn how to make believable anatomy, you have,
Hmm.
first of all, anatomy is learned on different stage.
Yeah.
So the first stage is the level zero. It's like an RPG. So at the level zero, you have the knowledge of the static anatomy, the
Hmm.
one that you can really learn, and you have to learn first of moving on to the other stuff by taking a good book. There is the Goldfinger anatomy. There is the Paul Richet. There are a lot of anatomy books. and a lot of nice anatomy courses like the Scottiton one, but the static anatomy that is made the skeletal muscle system.
Yes.
Uh, so you learn how is made a skeleton, the name of the muscles, because the name are important because allow you to relate to the position and you remember all the correlation of the, and you really you have to understand how is the construction of an anatomy.
Yeah.
So that's the static one. From that moment on, of course, you have to make a living model. So a living model is not made only of muscles and skeleton, but you have to put fat and skin. And probably fat and skin is when you start studying anatomy, is the most underrated stuff because, of course. You tend to think in terms, okay, I have the skeletal structure that is the hard one, I have the muscle that is the one that allow me to move and I have done. But if you really want to give the sense and the belief of something being living, you have to cover it and you have to work on transitions.
Yeah.
So exercise would be to copy.
Copy.
So first of all, okay, you make the stiff anatomy study, but after that, here we have some sort of not suitable for work stuff, so we will smooth them out. But of course, you have to start to copy stuff, so you can grab a scan.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy also mentioned that there is a nice website that is called My Mini Factory, in which you can download scans of artworks from the past, from
Ah,
Michelangelo.
cool.
There are people that scanned the stuff and put them for free
Mm-hmm.
to people to. So you can take this and copy. And a
Cool.
very good way you can take the pen here. Let's start with the cylinder. Let's make something super original because no one ever starts with the cylinder. Okay. And you
Yeah.
can take advantage of a nice function of ZBrush that is here, that is this split screen option, in which you can put on one side the model,
Ah, cool.
the thing that you're working on, and on the other one all the other pieces of your tool.
Cool.
And so in this way you have the capability to have a reference on one side of the screen, and you can see your reference from every angle, so you don't have always the need to check take this, then look at this and watch what happens. And
Okay.
it's this is probably the thing that is closer to making a live a session of live sculpting with a living model. So
Okay.
uh, you put yourself in front of the model of on a very hot room because the model is naked and you don't want this poor model to feel cold, and you just start sketching stuff. Trying first of all to understand the logic of course the proportion and the
Mm-hmm.
balance of the character. So you try to mimic the pose. So like this. And this is a very good exercise because allows you to observe
Mm-hmm.
and focus really. Because I mean, I have this logic that if you really want to learn something, the first step is to copy. No
Yes.
matter if you aim to become a concept artist or whatsoever, but first of all you have to be able to copy, because by copying you really can observe, because I can really ask myself what lies here underneath. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm looking here, what I'm seeing here is just a muscle, a
Yes.
bone, a combination of those. What is the shadow? And so this also will allow me to really make some sort of going deep with the observation and try to understand what is working, and also learn what are the usual errors that I always do. So
Yes.
because we always tend to make the same error, because when I sculpt anatomy from scratch and I don't look at living model or at the scan or try to copy, I tend to make, for example, always the arms in the same way
Mm-hmm.
or the hands in the same way. And instead, by using this approach, is very cool because really allows you to really observe. And this can be tricky. I really love to work on the computer, but let me say that I didn't do a lot of traditional sculpting just for fun. Yeah, now I don't have the camera on, but there is a table
Mm-hmm.
in my studio in which there are colors and clay.
Mm-hmm.
Because during my free time, when I have free time, I like to paint miniatures because it's also good for learning some secrets in this kind of job
Yeah.
because I do something for miniatures and for statues. So knowing also how the paint works is beneficial. But of course, I also have clay, and let me say that sculpting in clay is more relaxing and sometimes when you work on the computer there is this sort of thing that you start to become lazy at a certain point looking at references
Yeah.
because it just really sucks to probably have to look on another monitor or having your references superimposed or if you are trying to copy a living model just let me get rid for a second of the split screen so
Mm-hmm. Is
where
this
is
function implemented in ZBrush 2020 or is something that was
Yeah, yeah,
already?
2020. Yeah. I
Okay.
have the 2020. No, but
Okay.
probably it's also in the previous one. I don't remember. But of course, let's say that I'm working on this. It's always a pain. Okay, I have to check. Let me see. And then, okay, it works and go back here. So with this type of split screen, okay, first of all, I will probably try to just really overlap this. But really, I'm not really into trying to recreate the perfect pose but this is a very nice exercise that can be
Mm-hmm.
done and you have different split screen option you can put on the left on the right on top on or on bottom
Mm-hmm.
and that's it and I mean and it's also good to really learn from living models because it allows you to really understand how the balance work, how boobs work, because probably no, it seems like a joke, but probably one of the most difficult things to sculpt are breasts because
Mm-hmm.
we always tend and I always tend to make bubbles. Okay, like this and like this, and call it done. Instead, this is probably one of the most difficult anatomical part. Like for example, this area.
Yes.
I always get lost when I'm sculpting the hips. So and it really allows you to really always have the focus and understand if uh, what you're doing is on point with what you really want to recreate. Um, because yes, the idea is in order to I really will not get tired of repeating this. If you really want to learn, you have to copy.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
really a misconception of a lot of young people and students that in order to become a kick-ass sculpting artist, yeah, but also 2D1 because it's the
Yeah.
same. You have to invent and being able. Or if you are a professional, you are the type of guy that is able to make stuff without looking at references.
Yeah.
And this is probably the biggest swindle or uh,
Mistake.
conception and mistake that can be done because the real professional is the guy that always uses references from the start to the end of the job. And the moment that you stop looking at references is the moment in which probably you make mistakes that
Yeah.
you will have to correct later. So, then, of course, while the more you work, the more you will be able to, let's say, enlarge your. Oh, there is Rafael Grassetti, that is an
Mm-hmm.
amazing 3D artist, probably
Yep.
the most famous one.
Yep.
And he always refers to the mental library. So the capability to build with the experience, you remember stuff because you sculpted that. But I mean, this is a never-ending process. So
Mm-hmm.
when you want to learn, cioè is italiano, ok?
I
I
do a lot.
I mean that when you are making something in order to learn, you really want to copy
Mm-hmm.
because at least for as a sculptor, I'm saying this because I'm for my job. Usually, I invent very few stuff, and it's not my job to make concept. And usually when people ask me for concept, I say, oh please god no, because I really suck at doing concept. So for me, an exercise relates only to try to copy or strengthen some areas in which I feel that probably I lack. So in this case, I would make some this sort of exercise to allow me to train my capability to observe
Yeah.
and to create shapes while having a reference that I can check from every angle. So this will allow me to really sculpt the thing as I see them in a correct way. Another exercise will try to replicate the picture. In that case, probably you want to train your observation because it's like the workout. You really have to train different muscle groups when you're doing gym, when you're doing this kind of stuff. And for creativity, is the same. So
Yeah.
you don't have a universal exercise that will allow to train all the aspects of your creativity. So sometimes you want to train your capability to observe stuff. Sometimes your knowledge of the shapes. So in this case, I really want to use this to finesse my capability of sculpting correct shapes, because in this way I really cannot can see uh, how a forearm works when it's bent in this way, when the end goes in this way. And so it's a huge plus because okay, now probably I have to raise up the resolution.
Hmm.
And I repeat, I learned this, and this is also the proof that um, creativity and art in general is a never ending process also, um, in the way that you learn stuff. Because I repeat, I saw this exercise a few days ago, and I never did it. And this is the first time. Probably it will be a mess. But I mean, once you see the cool fact nowadays of the internet is that you really can connect with amazing artists and amazing people. So
Yes.
apart from looking at cut videos, you can use internet for something that is somewhat more constructive.
Yeah.
And of course, try to steal from these guys. And I always look. I have a lot of artists that I really love,
Hmm.
3D artists, and there are some of them that post videos or whips, and they always throw an eye to their works. If I feel that they are really able to make something that in a better way than me, so
Yeah.
the most of them, and I always try to get inspiration and try to understand how they interpret a particular shape, because
Yes.
um, that's it. Art is just getting inspired and trying to find your path.
Hmm.
But always it's like the what we were saying before about the studio versus the freelancer.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, Connecting with people that really can add to you something to your craftsmanship. So
Yes.
uh, that's it.
I think you covered a lot, and also, yeah, a copy is a never-ending story in terms of creativity works. First, you need to know what you are doing, and
Yeah.
then you can start in put your own taste or your own style if we want. But if you don't have any knowledge, any specific and academic knowledge, it's really difficult to reach a point where you can
Yeah.
put some of you in your job.
Yeah.
So yeah, and let's go to a more relaxed question, just because
Okay.
we
Yeah.
are.
Perfect.
Cl-
So I will return to this phase.
I also have a couple of funny comments in the chat. Someone before was asking you if you grave digged the skeleton.
Not yet, but I will do for sure.
For a moment, I was thinking that maybe that skeleton was before a client that makes you angry.
No, no, no. There is this misconception that I'm a very bad person, but
No.
I'm probably back in some times ago, I had this attitude also with clients, but also this is the thing that you learn.
Yeah.
I have to say that I learned to be more professional. So I tend not to overreact with clients because I really don't want to be perceived as an asshole, and also because I mean, clients basically are what allow me to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So it's not being
Yeah,
uh,
it's logic. If you start killing them, no one will pay your bills.
exactly. Yeah. So the logic is that I always try. Back in the days, it's quite some years that I really never try to overreact, and I accept everything that comes. Not everything in the sense that I'm keen to being mistreated by my client, but I mean, if there is a critic, if there is something that can be tweaked,
Yeah.
uh, and also this leads to another suggestion that I learned from very good people because it doesn't come from me is never take personally
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
This is said by Chris Costa, and I think he's right. When it comes to something that relates to um, to your profession, you really cannot take a critique or whatever it is on a personal level because
Yes.
it makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah. In the studio life, I can guarantee is the base of your peaceful environment, because
Yeah,
if you
I
start
can I
taking
can easily
personally,
leave it.
mm, you receive constantly feedbacks from clients, from art director, from a lot of people, and if you start taking the feedbacks in a personal way, you probably face a lot of down period, a lot of
Oh, yeah,
questioning, while it's just the reality of the job. I mean, it's you are paid to reach something that people sometimes
exactly.
they don't even know what they want until they see it.
Yeah,
So because sometimes the job is to match perfectly um, what the concept is, but
yeah,
sometimes the concept is there just to give the flavor, and
yeah,
in the process the character starting became something else. So you cannot punish yourself or punish the others
yeah,
or because of the many retakes, of the many feedbacks, and starting sometimes even from zero. It's not that you suck or you didn't get what people want. It's just that it's a natural process when you
yeah,
have a lot of uh, people gathering ideas, and sometimes it's also depending the type of show you are doing.
yeah.
Maybe it started with some promise and then it changed. You never know all of the many reasons you need to redo something.
Yeah, sure.
So
But
it's
I mean, it's part of every type of work, so also of a creative work. I mean, as as you were saying, basically when you work, you lend your craftsmanship
mhm.
to someone to eat their vision, not yours.
Yeah,
So this is the
exactly.
first thing. So they have to be happy, not you, because and also you have to relate to the fact that if it was for a personal work, probably um, we would make the same with ourselves. I mean, being super trying to be super accurate and super perfectionist and so
Yeah.
on. So, uh, I mean, when it comes when you lend your craftsmanship to someone else, you have to play the game and accept the fact that until they are not happy, the
Yeah,
job is you can't call the job done.
exactly.
Uh,
I am more mean to myself than the clients or the people I work with.
yeah.
In my
Wow.
personal job, I have a project of mine from a couple of years because I'm doing in the spare time, and sometimes
Yep.
I really don't have spare time. And with the characters and with the environments, I'm giving myself a lot of notes, more than the
Yep.
actual notes I receive from my
Ah,
job,
okay.
because it's basically I have the time to do it and I know exactly what I want. But it's difficult because sometimes to reach what we want as artists, it
Yeah.
means that you need to learn.
Yeah.
Learn. Maybe you are not there yet. You are in a point where you cannot reach yourself. You cannot reach the point you want.
Yep.
So probably you need to learn something else in the middle, and it's really strange because in my job I receive feedback, but after a while, after some day, I always somehow make people happy. With my own stuff, it can take weeks, it can take months to
Yep.
satisfy myself.
Sure, but I feel that it's normal, and probably when we do work for clients, we have to put ourselves in this sort of state of mind that probably if we would be our clients, we would act in the same way,
Hmm.
uh, because I mean it's normal. Of course, uh, you have to put some limitation. I mean, if I work as a freelancer, I cannot work. Let's talk about money because this is always an interesting topic.
Yeah,
I cannot put myself in a situation of working on a fixed budget
yeah,
for an endless amount of time. So,
yeah, of course.
and of course, this can lead to some sort of misunderstanding or things that don't work. But otherwise, if of course you are guaranteed the fact that if there are changes to be done that are not due by your mistakes, but by the fact that they have to be done,
Hmm.
I mean, it's normal because probably, I mean, all of us, none of us like to receive feedback. It's true. It's part of the human nature to receive feedback. To if we think that a work we made is good, we really cannot accept sometimes that is not as good as we thought.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, it's part of working. So when you're working, you really cannot pretend to satisfy yourself, but you have to satisfy someone else. So
Yeah,
to get used to it, otherwise, I always say let's just do fine arts for yourself and try to sell your own art, but put on yourself also the risks and the cost of all the operation because this
yeah,
is a huge thing to keep in mind. Yeah.
yeah. And I will close the question with the last one, and then we can have a Q&A in the chat.
Yep.
So basically, I will ask you if you can give us three artists and three books that influenced your life, your experience,
Okay.
and they don't have to be strictly related to modeling. You can name whatever you think
Yep.
influenced your life.
Okay. For the artists, oh, they are way too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I will play in the safe field, so I will go with the obvious ones. I will say Caravaggio,
Mm-hmm.
Bernini, and probably yeah Leonardo.
Okay.
But Leonardo just because he's the type of artist that was more a scientist. So we will bring all together, let's say, some of the best ones. And I've left Michelangelo behind just because otherwise there would be too many. Uh, because
Okay.
he also deserved to be there. But probably between Michelangelo and Bernini, probably it's a personal preference of mine. I prefer the style of Bernini. Um, he- I feel that it's more stylish. So this for the artist. Of course, Caravaggio is the first render artist of the.
Yes.
So, uh, if you make 3D, you cannot dislike or not like Caravaggio because it was probably the first one that created the concept of using the light to to convey emotions and to drive the eye on the scene and to express feelings and so on. So to put drama on a scene.
Yeah.
Okay, of course, Leonardo was a fucking genius and a crazy man, and he also grave digged corpses, study anatomy. So I feel that it will be the last part of my artistic evolution, and so I want to be like Leonardo in my future, and
Okay.
so it was the choice.
I will use this live to warn the police.
Yeah, yeah, but also the local police knows me very well because they always catch me on fail when I park. When I the first when we went into the lockdown, the first part of the year, the very first day that there was the decree here in Italy that say that you couldn't move from your town. And I really didn't listen to the radio because we are at the very beginning of the quarantine, so it was not felt like being so serious. So I
Okay.
didn't listen to the radio, and for me it was totally normal to take and put on my sport clothes and take my car and go driving to a forest here in the nearby.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of our town territory.
Mm-hmm.
So it was on another town. So I was basically an outlaw. And at the boundary of my town, there was the local police that stopped me and said, "Where are you going?" Well, I'm going to run in the forest. And he treated me very bad with very bad words, like you are an idiot. Let's go back because otherwise you will go in jail and stuff like that. So I've been pretty well known by the local police. So I think that it would be no surprise for them if they catch me grave digging. So no problem. Oh, for the books, I'm not big um, reader, but I have some books that probably I really loved
Mm-hmm.
in my life, and probably um, they were somewhat inspiring in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, is from George Orwell because he knew everything. As it's not 1984, but it's the Animal Farm.
The Animal
Uh,
Farm. Yeah.
I feel that I wrote it down here. Yes, the Animal Farm, because it's a tale basically, but it's a very hard tale because it tells the truth about society, how society works. And I remember that I read it when I was very young, and it was mind blowing because I mean, when someone is able to tell you the harsh truth with some sort of metaphor with animals, like being a child tale,
Yeah.
um, it's shocking. So probably to me is in terms um, of feelings that it can create. It's always more heavier than 1984. That probably is considered his masterpiece. Second one is The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. This guy is a scientist,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes from my scientific times, but it was suggested me by a former teacher of mine, and now he's also dead. But it's not something really strictly related to science, but it's more like it describes his view of how nature works. And the cool fun fact is that also is the first is the book in which it was created the term meme, yeah, that has been retaken by the internet culture because this guy talks about the meme about like an idea that can spread itself like a gene. So there is this sort of parallelism, and I feel that it's cool because you can somewhat agree or disagree with this guy, but basically the point, I'm not spoiling anything because it's the premise of the book,
Yeah.
that basically every organism is just a machine, and that is driven by its genes with the only scope to replicate itself. So this is really our but it's very philosophical because it has very nice philosophical implication,
Mm-hmm.
and also about the coexistence with the other people,
Mm-hmm.
and the tendency of help each other, because the selfish gene looks like a title that implies that people are selfish, but the result that reaches is that if you really want to survive, you have to be cooperative, because it is the best strategy in the long run. It will pay, always pay.
Yeah.
The third one, I have to search how it's called in English, because it's called, one second, because
Yeah.
I forgot, because it's a very long title, and I really, um, one second.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Take your
of
time.
course, the response is 42. Okay, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because
Ah.
probably,
Okay.
yeah, the old saga, and and by Douglas Adams, because it's just pure genius to me. I remember I read it when I was quite in my 20s, and probably sometimes it becomes a bit difficult, and repetitive, but I mean, it's genius. There is some stuff that I really cannot wonder how this guy came out with these ideas, like the whale, the 42, and whatsoever. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
no, it's the type of writer that really makes you wonder on stuff with
yeah,
laugh, but
yeah,
it's somehow a laugh that it comes from a deep thought.
yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it's
yeah. Probably also from very very strong drugs, because sometimes I also wonder if he was really heavy on drugs, because um, there are some stuff that really cannot be thought, by an healthy mind. I mean, okay,
Yeah,
but
it,
it's
it,
cool.
it reminds me of Terry Pratchett books, which I love also. I don't know if you ever played the Discworld saga. Was
Oh
an
no, no,
okay, it's an old
annoyed.
adventure game
Yep,
based on the Terry Pratchett books, and
yep.
the style of writing of Terry Pratchett, it's kind of similar
Ah,
to the other guy, which is this kind of sometimes it's no sense in
yeah,
the
yeah,
beginning, but after pages you find
yeah, yeah.
the
Yeah, the
links.
complaint is that sometimes you find a reminder after tons of pages. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will ask the chat if they want to make any questions. We talked a lot. We talked basically 2 hours, and
Wow.
we covered a lot of arguments. So the next few minutes, I'm gonna ask if some of you have any question for Daniele. It was a really I mean, I didn't felt that 2 hours was past because was.
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
I also skipped some question because we covered accidentally during the discussion. So yeah,
Ah, okay.
was yeah I skipped two questions in particular because they were basically we talked through the specific argument during
Oh, okay.
our flow. And I will give you a couple of minutes, guys, because otherwise I can say that we can close the live. Uh, by the way, in the meantime,
Yeah.
a little spot of advertisement for you. I know that in the past you did some classes of
Yep.
ZBrush for beginners in particular.
Yep.
Are you planning to do something more of this?
Probably. The classes that I do usually, as I work as a freelancer, they are some kind of a second job, or let's say free time job. So I'm just make them when I have time, and I'm sure that I can have the focus to make good classes. But of course, I don't organize them regularly, but I keep organizing them, and probably uh, um, during this autumn, I would also like to try to make some classes specific, maybe more advanced, but specific to sculpting for miniatures. So
Ah, cool.
um, something that, but yeah, because also I have the luck. I always forgot to mention to be an instructor, a certified instructor for
Yeah.
ZBrush. So that's it. Yeah. Um, I repeat, I don't organize them on a regular basis. When I have time, when I have, for example, a lot of people that keep asking me. So, for example, not the last one, but the one before the last one, I decided to organize this just because I had so many people asking for me to organize one. And so
Cool.
in the end, I decided, I filled the class and I made a lot of money. So it was very good. Yeah, but of course it's true because the class was really filled. Um, but yeah, probably not. The summer is always not the best moment to create
Yeah.
classes or to organize online stuff. Uh, because of course people want to go on vacation even if we are under a semi-lockdown situation, but people want to go to the sea, want to spread the COVID again. So let's talk about it when it comes autumn. So
Yeah.
we will have the second wave of COVID, and people will be forced at home, and will be able to make a lot of money again.
Okay. I will recommend people to go in the link for contact you. For example, on Facebook, or I leave the link of your art station. So
Okay, cool.
if you are interested, guys, you can contact Daniele through his socials.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say more because I think we are finished. No question were raised from the chat. So, Daniele, again, it was a real pleasure for me to having you,
Oh, my pleasure.
and
And thanks for inviting me.
I had to. I mean, I don't know many people in 3D apart from the guys I'm working in brown bag,
Yep.
but I always know great person like you and Salvatore, for example, and so it was natural for me to invite you.
Thanks you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah,
So,
really appreciate it.
see you guys at the next live, and thanks again, Daniele. We will see in the next live. Bye, guys.
Bye.